I gotta think of a perfect intro. Yo, welcome back. The Conscious Resistance has returned. Welcome back to the Conscious Resistance. Tonight on the Conscious Resistance.
Got me wondering how I got into this mix.
Welcome back to the Conscious Resistance Network. My name is Derrick Broze, and I'm happy to welcome all of you out there in the world of the internet. This is our return back to new articles, new episodes of my podcast, and other shows, other video reports on theconsciousresistance.com. So for those of you who are new to this, I'd just like to introduce you a little bit to myself and what we're about. I'm an activist and journalist based out of Houston, Texas. I'm founder of the Houston Freethinkers and the Conscious Resistance Network, and partner with all kinds of other activists around the world to bring you a message of liberty, freedom, sustainability, spiritual awareness, and these are the topics that we cover on the Conscious Resistance Network. So if you go on over to theconsciousresistance.com, you'll find more information, articles, and other reports. What we try to discuss on the Conscious Resistance is everything from how to be more free in an unfree world, how to find freedom within your heart and within your mind, how to reach out to others in your community, how hallucinogens and psychedelics, entheogens if you will, can also lead you to various insights, how the current systems of governance do not lead to a more free world, how you own yourself, how meditation can help you be more free. This show, the one you're watching, will be here at this spot every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central, and then it'll be on our YouTube channel where you can tune in. And it's going to be an evolving platform. Before, what I did was 2-hour live show, and now we're scaling it down to make it a little bit more concise so you can digest this, and this will continue to evolve. So please send us any suggestions, criticisms, questions, hate mail to the Conscious Resistance website. You can email me directly at derrick@theconsciousresistance.com. I'm just returning from a month and a half, 2-month journey of being on the road, being away from doing podcasts and doing mostly internet work to travel the country. I left early May from Houston to Austin, traveled across Texas but on my bicycle, hitchhiking, adventuring, tripping out in the desert, meeting all kinds of people, and learning lots of lessons. And I had a GoPro camera, I had this camera, and I documented the entire way. So we will be releasing exclusive videos through our website and through this show, including a new one tonight, and just sharing various insights that I journaled while traveling. And I want to give a shout out to Nick from theantimedia.org, Morgan Rockwell from Bitcoin Kinetics, and all the other great people that I met while in San Diego and Arizona, Nevada, and everywhere else I went. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's get this started. In our lead story, we're going to be talking about some indigenous news. You can expect some of that. I like to keep my hands and my ear in the indigenous world, the indigenous resistance. In case you were not aware, indigenous suffering, genocide, and resistance to the modern world did not stop with America and the Native Americans. It continues to this day, not only in America, but in Australia, South America. So tonight we go to Quito, Ecuador, where a coalition of indigenous activists and organizations have just finished a 10-day march earlier this week, marching to the capital of Ecuador to launch a people's assembly where they're trying to come up with answers for facing off with giant corporations that are coming into Ecuador to privatize water. So they gathered in Quito, the capital of Ecuador, to form a people's assembly to try to strategize and have a central strategy on how they're going to deal with this. They're accusing the president of Ecuador, Rafael Correa, of working with the corporations and basically working against the people and limiting the rights of the indigenous groups. And they say that this new water law that was recently passed by Congress in Ecuador is going to eliminate their rights towards water and will favor the corporations. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this story, besides just being another powerful story of indigenous resistance, is coming from a more traditional, I guess you could say, libertarian market anarchist. One of the issues that I find troubling is the idea of water privatization. And some of you may have heard about Nestle and how the CEO of Nestle is saying that, water is not a right, and they're buying up large bodies of water around the world and trying to charge people crazy amounts for water, right? We already pay for water through water bottles, and you pay water bills, and some people say, well, water is a human right. It's inside of our bodies. We're made up of water. There's water 70% of the world. Water is obviously a valuable resource. When I start to break down these ideas and really look at it from just this lens of understanding how privatization and most instances can be a valuable thing and competition can be a valuable thing, I really don't know if I feel that way when it comes to water and how that's going to look in 10 to 15, 20 years, even if we have 5 to 10 corporations who have bought up all the world's bodies of water and they own it, and then they just parcel it out to the people at ridiculous prices. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think water privatization is a good thing? What are the solutions for corporations who are going after water? And is water a human right? Share those comments below. On Thursday, July 3rd, former NSA employees and whistleblowers before Edward Snowden, William Binney and Thomas Drake, they both spoke in Germany in front of a parliamentary committee discussing what they know about the United States NSA spying program focused on Germany. Thomas Drake was quoted as saying that the United States spying is totalitarian. Now, it's not that big of a surprise to hear a comment like that. If you know who Thomas Drake is and you've seen his work, then you know this. He's been talking about this stuff, and he was targeted by the government even before you guys knew the name Edward Snowden. If you don't know who Thomas Drake is and William Binney, go do a search and find out more about them. When William Binney was asked what he thought about the USA Freedom Act, he basically said it's a big waste of time and it has huge holes in it. It's not going to lead to any major changes in the NSA spying program. According to the German press agency, Thomas Drake told the parliamentary committee, NSA's monitoring regime has grown into a system that is strangling the world. Also on Thursday, it was reported that those who search or use the anonymous browser Tor and the program Tails are put onto a list of, quote, extremists by the NSA. What's interesting about this revelation is that security expert Bruce Schneier said that he believes these revelations about Tor and about the Tails program did not come from Edward Snowden. He said that he believes that there is in fact a second NSA whistleblower. And then later on Twitter, Glenn Greenwald, the former Guardian journalist who's been working with Edward Snowden to review all these leaks, he said at this point it's pretty obvious that there is a second NSA whistleblower. Edward Snowden has been in the headlines since last June when he first started working with the Guardian, the Washington Post, and various papers around the world to reveal information about not only the NSA's programs but spying agencies' programs around the world. Glenn Greenwald was supposedly going to release the names of Americans who are being specifically targeted by the NSA spying program. But then all of a sudden Glenn Greenwald went back on Twitter and said that it wasn't going to happen because of some type of pressure coming from the government. So what we have here is Glenn Greenwald working with Edward Snowden to release information about the NSA spying programs, and then promising to release a list of names being targeted by the NSA, then backing away from those claims and saying for whatever reason he couldn't do that. And then we have the website cryptome.org stepping in and saying, actually, we're going to release all those names and all the rest of the documents in July to avert some type of war. Cryptome.org is a very good website for all type of documents, so I wouldn't expect them to just play around with this type of news. So on one hand, Glenn Greenwald promising to release documents from Ed Snowden. On the other hand, former whistleblowers who have revealed a lot of the information that Snowden has talked about in the past years went to Germany to talk about the totalitarian NSA spying. And then we have a security expert saying, oh, well, by the way, if you use Tor, these programs that are designed to keep you anonymous on the internet, you're already on some kind of extremist list. And we believe this is probably coming from a second whistleblower. So lots of news going on in the NSA spying world. And I know there's plenty of people out there who accuse Glenn Greenwald and Edward Snowden of being some type of agents or controlled opposition or limited hangouts, and saying Drake and Binney have already released this information, and if you've been paying attention then you wouldn't be surprised by this. And I agree with all that. But at the same time, what I know as a journalist reporting on this is that I didn't know the specific names of the programs that they were using to spy on us. I didn't know to what extent. So I think there is new information, and at the same time, people who are speculating, which seem to be Sibel Edmonds, Webster Tarpley, I think even James Corbett, who I respect, they're all speculation. I don't see any valuable, reasonable, tangible evidence, and yes, I am somewhat of a conspiracy theorist, so I'm willing to go on faith alone sometimes, but I really think that we might be reaching what is the ultimate goal if Edward Snowden or Glenn Greenwald are controlled opposition or limited hangouts. Let me know in the comments below. So on every new episode, I plan to share a little bit of conscious, spiritual related news topics with you guys, or it'll be some news related to consciousness, psychedelics, spirituality, etc. In the past weeks, it's been revealed that Facebook was conducting some type of psychological experiment on all of us. I think over 1 billion people in the world now use Facebook, some ridiculous number I saw recently. And if we have 1 billion people in the world using Facebook, and there's been allegations since the very beginning of the CIA being involved, the FBI, we know that the government monitors social networking. We know that they create fake profiles, troll profiles to sway public opinion. But what we found out recently, Facebook was actually altering people's news feeds with either positive or negative, emphasizing positive or negative aspects to see how it affected our mentality, to see what we posted. And what they found is of no surprise that guess what? You're affected by other people's emotions around you. What they showed is that if you see a bunch of negative stuff in your Facebook feed, you're more likely to post something else that's negative or sad or depressing. And if you see a bunch of positive things, you're more likely to post things like that. I'd be interested to see exactly what the feeds they put in there, because maybe in their eyes, negative is posting a bunch of news about what's going on in the world, and that makes people sad. Or maybe that's why all my friends left me on Facebook. What's important about this? Why does this matter? Well, it's another revelation to know that they are, being Facebook, the governing institutions in our world, they like to do these experiments on us, and they're studying us. They want to understand every single aspect of how we think, how we perceive and take in information, and how it makes us respond. And this is important to them for advertising purposes, for manipulating your mood, obviously. But what else is important about this, what I'm taking away from this, is to understand how important it is to be grounded in your own emotions and your own center and your own heart and your own mind, to know who you are, to be grounded in your principles and your ideals and what makes you, me. When you know who you are, when you know what you're about, then it's not really going to matter what your friends are posting on Facebook. At least that's how I feel. I mean, if I wake up and I have a good morning and I eat right and I read my book and I meditate and I do a little bit of workout or stretch or yoga or whatever, and I do all that and then I dive into my day always goes so much smoother. I feel much more balanced and able to handle anything that comes my way, Facebook feeds or whatever. So, know yourself and get off Facebook. The other story related to consciousness has to do with magic mushrooms. I know none of you out there have ever tried magic mushrooms or ever experimented with those type of things. I know you're not those type of people. But if you had, you might have experienced something like a dream-like state. New research from the Human Brain Mapping Project shows that when you're under the influence of psilocybin, which is the main component of magic mushrooms, your brain reacts in a similar way as if you were in a dream. And this should come as no surprise to those of you who have experienced LSD or ayahuasca or DMT or salvia or psilocybin or anything like that. Sometimes you're out there and you're having a good trip and you feel like you're in a dream. The past years, you may have noticed the rise in research and awareness on how powerful these tools are. In the 50s and the 40s and before the 60s, whenever the Lovevolution first happened and psychedelics were everywhere, these tools were being used for therapy to treat alcoholics, to treat depression. And now we're finding out that things like MDMA, which is commonly known as ecstasy, but don't buy that shit off the street, kids. Buy it off the Silk Road. These things can treat PTSD, and veterans, the majority of our society is probably suffering from PTSD in one form or another, especially when you have a government like we do. These substances, these chemicals, these gifts from nature can be tools to help you better know yourself and also to kind of push the limits of that mind boundary. Definitely they're not for everyone out there. There are some people who have fragile minds and who should probably not be messing with these things. But it's about knowing yourself, and sometimes it is important to push those boundaries and to open your doors of perception. So if you have an opportunity to do so, and you have the respect and the right mindset to do so, and setting, because those things are all important. The people you're around, the place, your mode of thinking, and your intention, if you have those things and they're coming from a place of respect and seeking knowledge, I would say it's probably a good idea to go down that road. So I mentioned earlier that I'd spent a few months on the road. I'm going to begin sharing my trip, my personal vlog, video log, from this camera and from my GoPro camera that I wore with me on my bike and everywhere I went to. So if you keep tuning in every week here, you'll be the first to see these videos, and sooner or later in the coming months they're going to be put together in one long documentary showing all my adventures, all the different activists I came across and people I interviewed. So I hope you guys will check that out. For now, check out the first part of my journey. Yo, today is Friday, May 2nd, 2014. I left from just outside of Austin, Texas on Thursday, May 1st at about noon. I got from South Austin towards just outside of Fredericksburg, and I'm headed to Kerrville and beyond today. Yesterday, the first day of riding, was not without its challenges. I got my first flat tire first day, so that's good to get that out of the way. I think that's generally a good sign. I also had written down the directions that I was taking because I'm not using GPS or anything like that. I'm just getting online and writing down my directions. I wrote them down and I lost them halfway through the day, so I had to stop, pull over, Luckily I have a Wi-Fi hotspot, which is allowing me to continue to write and get paid while I'm traveling. But I pulled over, used my hotspot, and looked up some more directions and continued on. I think it's a possibility that I may have underestimated this trip and how quick I could get to California, but we're gonna carry on either way. So today I will be leaving, and hopefully I'm trying to get to 100 miles today. Yesterday I did about a 70 with 8 hours of riding. Today I'm gonna have 10 hours of riding, and I think I can do more. I just finished packing up my tent, but I'll show you a little bit of it. I'm inside of it right now. As you can see, it's not very big. That's the end of it right there. It's my sleeping bag. All my stuff is out here already. My backpack, water bottle, my solar charger. Solar panels are charging right now. And there's my bike. I'm just off the side of a freeway right here. I pulled off, came down here and camped. As you can see, it is a beautiful morning. So, let's start day 2. Peace. We're nearly 2 months away from the 13th anniversary of the September 11th attacks from 2001. And you may know by now that I'm one of those crazy people who doubt the official story on 9/11. Of course, you'd have to be crazy to believe the official story. I still remain a skeptic. I'm not one of the people who believe that I have the answers. I don't go around yelling that 9/11 is an inside job, because I think that means that you're kind of saying you have the answers already, you've got it all put in place. And despite some very, very well done research out there, I don't think that we have all the answers, and I don't think that anyone can say without a doubt that they have it, all the pieces put together. The more you dive into the topic of 9/11 and look into it, there are so many aspects, from the financial crimes to defense companies, the defense contractors who benefited from the wars that are happening, the Bush family. Today I want to talk about some recent news. First of all, in case you didn't know, last year Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth launched the Rethink 9/11 campaign, and they did a poll of Americans and Canadians. They found that 38% of Americans have some doubts about the official narrative. 10% of people don't believe at all. 12% unsure. And now this is a big part of it. 46% of people who were polled had no idea about the third building that fell that day, in addition to the Twin Towers, Building 7. Building 7 has been a high point for many 9/11 Truth activists and those who question 9/11 in general, who think this is the smoking gun. Look at that building fall, and you can see it fall at near free fall speed, and it looks exactly like a controlled demolition. The Rethink 9/11 campaign went around and showed people the 30-second video of the collapse. I've witnessed this happen going to New York every year for the past 4 years. I've seen people come up with tablets and with phones and show people, we'll start having conversations on the streets and show them a video of the building falling that they've never seen, they never even heard of Building 7. And you can see their minds starting to turn this over, like, wow, that looks really crazy. I didn't know that happened. So what's the latest on the 9/11 front? 2 interesting pieces of information have come out this week. First, from the organization, the Broward Bulldog, they filed a Freedom of Information Act suit against the government to try to get more documents released. For those of you who had followed this story and any story related to 9/11, you should know that not only did the Bush administration fight very hard immediately following 9/11 to keep the documents, any and all documents related to 9/11 under wraps, but since then the government has tried very hard to keep them from releasing any new information. One of the new documents that was released from the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit was dated April 2002, and it shows that there was an antagonist from Jerusalem involved. The Tampa FBI office has this document. It says, quote, has determined that blank is an antagonist of the United States of America. Blank resides in Jerusalem. Blank allegedly has held regular and recurring meetings at his residence to denounce and criticize the United States of America and its policies. Blank is allegedly an international businessman with great wealth. Who are these international businessmen? Who is this person that came from Jerusalem that is an antagonist against the United States? This is just one of the many, many pieces. You know, you don't even have to talk about Building 7. You don't even have to talk about the fact that the Pentagon doesn't look like a plane, or that whatever hit the ground in Pennsylvania doesn't look like a plane either. You don't have to go in too far into the realm of conspiracy to get people to question 9/11. All you have to do is say, hey, if this is the biggest crime that has ever happened on American soil, don't you think that there should have been an investigation? Remind them that the Bush administration refused to investigate it until the Jersey Girls, a pair of mothers and victims' family members, forced them to do so, and that led to the 9/11 Commission report, which later members of the 9/11 Commission report themselves said was set up to fail and was not, was not a thorough investigation. Here's a little more from that document. November 2001, blank visited the United States for the first time. He traveled to Sarasota, Florida, opened a bank account, and made initial queries into the purchase of property in South Central Florida. Blank intends to establish a Muslim compound in Central Florida. So who are these blanks that are being censored here in these documents? Well, we may never know, because unfortunately the Supreme Court recently decided that a lawsuit from victims' family members and survivors of September 11th could go forth, but they could not sue the Osama bin Laden family members or Saudi royalty. Earlier this week, the Supreme Court decided not to review a ruling from a previous court that dismissed the lawsuit against 25 defendants. That includes the bin Laden family and wealthy businessmen who are connected to Saudi royalty. And if you've been following 9/11, then you know that's kind of where it leads to. So why would the United States not want to question Saudi officials? But it's likely because if they were to follow, it would likely implicate somebody in the United States government. Because according to the FBI and according to the official story, Al-Qaeda acted alone and there were no official state sponsors. Back in 2005, Judicial Watch revealed FBI documents detailing how wealthy Saudi citizens, including relatives of Osama bin Laden, flew out of the United States in the days following September 11th, when all the rest of American traffic was grounded. No flights were getting in and out of the United States, but they allowed Osama bin Laden's family and wealthy Saudi businessmen who likely had something to do with the funding of these attacks fly out of the country. Now I'm just giving you a couple of pieces of 9/11 in the real short segment. So if you want to learn more about this, please do look into groups like Pilots for 9/11 Truth, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Watch one of the many documentaries out there and do it all with a skeptical eye, because like I said, I don't think any one group has all the answers, and I have questions for many of the people. I do know that myself and many other activists will be in New York City on September 11, 2014, and the 12th and the 13th, and we'll be visiting this new, deplorable, disgusting 9/11 Memorial Museum to pass out information and to try to get people to question the official story. And I know that Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth is planning on launching a new campaign to focus on getting firefighters to question 9/11. So if you're interested in that, check them out and continue to question 9/11. So that's about it. Tune in every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central right here at theconsciousresistance.com for another episode of my show, The Conscious Resistance, and find more articles that talk about anarchy, liberty, spirituality, consciousness, and why the role of the government should be vastly shrunk down, and why you are a free, beautiful, independent human being who rules themselves. If you want to get involved, you can always go check out the website and become a contributor to us. If you want to invest, you can check out the Invest tab. Send us some Bitcoin or some PayPal. We accept all those different things. If you want to help fund this operation, please do check theconsciousresistance.com throughout the week. If you'd like to learn more about my work, you can always find me on Facebook or on Twitter, and my own YouTube channel, Derrick Broze Live Free, which I will put in the video here somewhere. And I just want to thank you guys again for supporting what we do. Lastly, every week we're going to support independent artists and musicians who are out there spreading the word, spreading love and positivity and awareness through music. Because there won't be a revolution without music. At least not one I want to be a part of. And if you want to submit any videos, please email me them at derrick@theconsciousresistance.com, and we'll get your videos played. And every week you can go to the website as soon as that show ends and vote for your favorite. So check out our 3 artists of this week.
1, 2, 3.
That's the way I operate. If you feel the same, let me hear you say.
Rocket Couch Productions.
Picked it up, I'm moving slow, feeling so fantastic.
It's like rigor mortis is setting in.
Spare me your 2 cents. The whole world is a nuisance. I'm talking to the stupid, which is you if the shoe.
And remember, whatever we're talking about, whether it's indigenous resistance, water privatization, NSA spying, lies about 9/11, the role of government, all these things can be tackled, can be handled by an aware and awake heart and mind. The evolution of hearts and minds continues, and we need every single one of you to do this, to change the world and make it into a better place. So remember, you're not alone, and if you can hear this, you are the resistance. Peace. April 1993, Robert England and Armando Lazo were shot dead in the border town of El Paso, Texas. At that time, Daniel Villegas was a 16-year-old teenager also living in El Paso. Daniel reportedly claimed to have killed the men and was arrested shortly after. While in police custody, Daniel